to get started. That's so exciting. Welcome to Real Estate Survival Guide, you guys. We don't need you guys yet. Nope, you're ruining the surprise. This isn't working out for me. Here's our panel. Bye. I love you guys. Anyways, hello. Raise your hand. I start every time the same way. Who has not been to a Real Estate Survival Guide? Okay, fascinating. So we do this 4 times a year. I've done it for years, and I love that new people keep coming. So thank you guys. I am Kelly Harris with my home group, and one of the very unique things about my home group is we put on events all the time for real estate agents from every single brokerage. So I know it's confusing to people. Sometimes you say to me, I just got an invitation from you, but I'm not with the brokerage. Well, of course not. Come on, come all. We love everybody to come to every event because we love to share knowledge. So the 4 people here today are going to share some amazing stories with you guys and motivate, educate, and make you rock stars. So we are all lucky to be here with them, and thank you to them for being here. As always, let me get my trusted list. We would not have events like this if it weren't for our sponsors, and they're not going to give you elevator speeches, so don't worry. Just trust me when I tell you that the people on this list are amazing, okay? Amazing. I don't know if everyone's here, but do we have anyone from VIP Mortgage? That's, hello, hip, hip. I'm giving you an opportunity to shout. Guild Mortgage, where's Sammy? And Amir. Thank you, guys. Lawyer's Title. Woo! One Guard Home Warranty. I think Shelly's not here. She had to pick up a kid. Darn kids. Alliance Property Inspections, probably never here, but sponsor everything we do, but he's always busy in the field. Sign Setters, again, not here. Amazing company, always in the field. Muscular Moving Men, did Harold make it? No? Harold! Yeah! My Rental Superstore, you guys, property management. If you need someone, that's the company. Shebang CRM, I don't think anyone made it today, but they are building out CRMs for you guys. Prime Source Printing and Exposure Listing Photos. 11 people that actually care about all of us and help put on events like this for you guys. Some housekeeping rules. There's no rules. There's a bar, there's food, and you guys are going to listen to the panelists. That's it. So thank you for coming. Mark Hutchins, owner of my home group, is going to moderate this lovely panel, and I'm going to go in the back. Thank you for coming, you guys.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. Welcome, everybody. So I love to see the new hands of folks that haven't been to the Real Estate Survival Guide. It's one of my favorite panels to moderate. I think it's the only one I actually do, so it is my favorite one. You know, it's because the house is always packed because we always have extremely, extremely smart, knowledgeable entrepreneurs. And today, especially, we have some very special guests. And, you know, I always see people taking notes and asking questions. And, you know, this is your time now, guys, to do that when they're here. I know that sometimes it's tough in a crowd to ask the questions you want to. There's nothing to be fearful of if you're a brand new agent. Nothing is a stupid question. Just ask the question because this is the time you get them. When they leave here, they are now not yours. You will not. It's hard to get them because they are very busy, strong entrepreneurs. So today the topic is kind of going to be adaptation, how we adapt to the new market, to all the things we hear about, the changes that are coming, if they are coming, but also to hear about their business, what they do to adapt, and how do they continue to grow in such an ever-changing real estate market as we know that it is. So without further ado, first, because it's always ladies first, I'd like to welcome, who also has been a guest. Everybody here except our special guest, Anthony, has been on the Daily Dose, our podcast. So that will be the next thing we do is to get Anthony on our podcast. So without further ado, Carin Nguyen, and I said it right. Hi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Next on the list, another very strong mega team, huge team. One of my, well, I can't say favorites because everybody's my favorite, truthfully, but I love this guy. He's also my home group agent, George Laughton. Welcome. Also a team leader. And again, another guy who I love very much, who's also a My Home Group agent, who I've become friends with over the years since he's joined with my home group. Please welcome Mr. Kevin Craig. Hey, buddy. Looking good. Of course you do. And like George. All right, so we were supposed to have Brian Gubernick. He didn't come. He actually had an engagement to attend. So in place of him, though, we got lucky with this next special guest. Monster producer, huge entrepreneur, great guy. Just met him, but he's a great guy also, wealth of knowledge. He's my best friend. Please welcome Anthony Knight, everybody, who traveled all the way here from Vegas. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, so everybody knows how this goes. You all have sat on these panels before. No more than 30 seconds a comment. I'm just kidding. No. Please indulge and explain everything. So just on the topic, it's more adaptation and direct-to-consumer. I think that's a lot of a topic that's going out there. We hear the iBuyer. We hear the consumer-based type products that, either brokerages or third-party companies are trying to lure in the buyers. So I want to stay on the topic of that and adaptation. How do we adapt to that and overcome that with the value that we are, because we're all wonderful, amazing, great real estate professionals. So before I go there, I want to talk about one thing you've done in your business, because everyone in here is functioning at such a high level that I think a lot of us can't fathom doing 50, 60, 100, 200 million a year in production. It's very hard to fathom those numbers. So what is one system, tool, whatever you want to call it, that you have implemented in the last year into your business that in your opinion has changed it? So whether, I don't care if it's CRM, I don't care what it is, what is one system or tool? Because I think systems and how we run teams and brokerages are the backbone. So what is one system, tool, or strategy you've implemented in the last year that has helped continue your amazing growth? We'll start with Anthony.
Well, in the last year, I would say, for me, is really taking the position of what we would refer to as an ISA, and changing that title to a client relations manager, and in tying that together, really staying more in front of our past buyers than ever, which we've always been pretty good at, but I think giving that individual that title, rather than just, you're the ISA caller, make calls, you're the client relations manager, really kind of made that individual in that position, I think, a little more upbeat, a little more, proud to hold that title. Louder? Yeah. Okay, sorry. And creating tasks to really stay in front of our past buyers, because we all know the next move that a buyer is going to make is to become a seller, right? And I've seen over the years just so many agents in different offices that I've been in completely forget about those buyers that they close the transaction with, and it's really like money in the bank. And so through that, there's a couple little things we added. We've always done our mailers and our yearly calendar, but going to a 1-year anniversary call, which through your CRM, scheduling that. You close on them, you close out that file, you set your 1-year anniversary call. And so she's calling on behalf of the agent. Congratulations, it's been a year. How do you like your home? In a lot of cases, actually, something changed. We're ready to sell, and asking if they know anybody else that is in need to buy or sell a home. And another thing we did in conjunction with that is cost me, I think, $1.12. Nice little keychain, LED light. When my buyer's agents do the walkthrough and hand the keys over, they go on our keychain and they're handed to the buyer. And so just another piece to really stay in front of them. And so we've always had a pretty good conversion on our past buyers as far as them listing with us. But in my opinion and in my office, we should be listing every single past buyer when they go to sell. So really staying in front of them and marketing to the buyers of your listings. So I just put a house on the market the other day that this will be the third time now that I've listed that home, and the last 2 times I double-ended it, and one of my agents showed it today to a buyer that called off the sign. And so, you know, I hate to step on toes or really, go after another agent's clients as far as that being their buyer, but most of them will not ever contact the buyer again. And so I put the buyers of my listings in our follow-up system as well, and they get treated the same way as our past buyers. So. Follow-up, yes.
About a year ago, my business partner Jenny McCall and I were thinking of something that we could get our agents for a Christmas present, but we didn't want to get them just a gift. We wanted to get them an experience. So we started looking around trying to find something like a boot camp that we could put our agents through that they could be able to use to increase their business. And we called our business coach. We're talking to him about it, and he says, "Oh my gosh, your timing is amazing, because I just got done learning all about this really cool system called Ninja Selling. And if there's one nugget that I'll drop on everybody that you can write down and leave here with, it's Ninja Selling. I'm not selling it. I have no ownership in it, so I get nothing out of it if you like it or don't like it. But we flew somebody in to do a one-day course on Ninja Selling, which is very similar to the way that we've done business all along, which is all through relationships. And I guess the basis for Ninja Selling is stop selling and start solving. If you can solve your clients' problems, you're going to be used by those clients. Anybody can sell, but very few people can solve problems. There's automated systems now that can sell, but automated systems cannot solve problems. So we went through Ninja Selling. Part of our team flew to another state to go through a 4-day implementation. And since the beginning of the year, we've been using Ninja Selling. And just to throw a little piece of information out here is Sotheby's. I don't know if there's any Sotheby's agents here, but Sotheby's has rolled this out as their business model for the Arizona market. And they filled up 2 Ninja Selling classes with, I think, 150 agents per class that are using the SAR conference center. And so at some point, we would like to have a Ninja Selling thing that we can have here and bring people in and teach some of this business model about how to do business without making someone feel like they're being sold. There's the buyer-seller dance they talk about or the pursuer-distancer dance, you can also call it, when you're after somebody trying to sell them and they're immediately running away from you. This is a way to actually attract people and have them come talk to you because they want to, because you have something valuable to them. You can solve one of their problems. So in answer to your question, our number one thing this year, Ninja Selling.
So for mine, I'm going to go with a strategy. And for us, am I loud enough? Get closer to the mic. Okay, good. So for us, the strategy was taking the listing presentation that we had for the last 13 years and basically ripping that up. This panel is on adapting. And so what we noticed is all the old-fashioned listing presentations were all based on getting the highest net to the seller. And what we learned when we went through our analytics was that we were losing a lot of listings, basically because we were having the wrong conversation, because we were going through the listing strategy that had worked for us for so many years. And so we adopted the philosophy of we have to be committed to going much deeper versus wide. And so I think our natural tendency, and I know this about myself personally and in training a lot of agents, is that we have our series of questions that we ask, and we get one answer, and we go, okay, great, check the box on that, and go to the next one. And so instead, going much deeper on really understanding what their motivation is, what's really important to them, and then being able to offer them options, which would be, an iBuyer solution through Open Door or OfferPad, or maybe in the near future, Zillow. We don't have that option quite yet. He's working on that. And if not, we can get you the highest net. So when we're sitting with someone, the only reason that they wouldn't list with us is they just frankly decide not to list. But if we have a flexible commission plan, we can give them a quick cash offer through an iBuyer program or an investor, or we can get them the highest net. We have no reason that they wouldn't list with us. So for us, it's strategy, changing the listing presentation.
All good stuff, guys. Thank you. Somebody back there taking notes for us? McClellan, please. All right, thank you. For us, it was a strategy too. So we were really looking at scaling our business up and how to handle volume at a high level. So over the last year, we implemented a lot of automation, a lot of technologies that allows for intuitive responses that didn't necessarily have to have a person behind it. Text message campaigns through like Agent Legend, which didn't work really well for buyer conversion, but then we switched it around to do text message campaigns for agent showings. So to text an agent that showed one of our houses to solicit feedback. You know how much, on average, we would probably get 10% response rate on feedback. With this, we get about 77% response rate on showing feedback to give back to our sellers, right? So that automation piece of it, really writing out our SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. We realized in order to scale that we had to really define every step of a process, right? That we had to be super strategic in that piece of it and know, not just do this and this, but really like define every step along the way in everything we do, whether it's entering a listing, whether it's setting up an Agent Legend campaign, whatever it is, we have all those written out and have a big, hefty playbook now. So it's been our strategy.
Answers. I'm going to turn this up. Kelly, you said it's enough now. There it is. So, whoa, hey, wake up. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go, I have a loud voice. I can just go like this, so I will not turn on high until I hand it over. I'm going a little in reverse this time. Really quick, I did not start with team, production last year, and year to date. I want everyone to get an idea of the amount of volume that these fine folks are doing. So name your team or brokerage, last year's production, year-to-date production.
So I own a brokerage called Platinum Real Estate Professionals in Las Vegas. And sorry, I'm a little stumped because we have agents, obviously, that are 100% agents. But on my team itself, I'm a broker. So I have a team of 12 agents currently. Last year, I had 10 agents on my team. So we did 328 transactions last year with 10 agents and 2 admins. Now I have 12 agents and 3 admins. So we're going to definitely hit 400 for sure. So my top producer last year, 4 years into the business, did 52 transactions. And so she'll definitely break 60 transactions this year. I started real estate in 2009, so I haven't been doing it nearly as long as a lot of people that I come across, but I went completely digital right out of the gate and have never really looked back. And so hopefully we can talk about some of that today in social media, but really building the database and managing it. So,
impressive numbers.
Thank you.
Your turn. And you can do units, volume, whatever you want to do.
I'll do a number that nobody talks about. How's that?
Let's hear it.
How about volume per agent? Okay. So you go to the grocery store and you check out the price per pound of something. You go to the gas station and you check out the price per gallon. And with houses, we always do the cost per square foot so we can put everything on a level playing field. So I can say that right now, so far this year, we're at 50 million. Last year, we finished the year at 47 million. So we're obviously, I think, 23% ahead of where we were last year with 12 producing agents. So the number that we don't always talk about is that means each one of the agents is going to be about $6 million per agent this year. Right now, the average is about 4.6 million, I guess, per agent. But that's always a number that never really gets discussed because it's nice to know that what the brokerage is producing, what's the team producing. And I know there's different perspectives. We're here to talk about agent-type perspective, but we're also here to talk about team perspective. So I think it's important to maybe discuss the numbers both ways.
So last year we did 232 transactions for 64 million. This year we've done 185 transactions already at 65 million, and we should hit 300 at about 90 million.
Good job. So last year we did, 170 million for 675 transactions. My team size last year hovered around that 50 agent mark. This year we're sitting about 80 agents, give or take, and we'll do 900 transactions, 225 million-ish.
I just wanted you guys to know that. Gosh, terrible numbers. Will you guys get to work? Such slackers. Okay, so personal relationship tech. That's what we're going to talk about here, which I like because I'm a relationship person. Jeremy and I have always been relationship guys. I think that they're hand in hand. I think the tech enables us to have better personal relationships. So the question is tech agent or personal relationship agent? And maybe just touch on that. I know it's broad because we have a lot of tech companies coming. Let me get to the idea of the question. The tech companies coming, the homies and the other folks are basically trying to eliminate some of that personal relationship process. Where I feel as if that's my opinion. I don't think it needs to be. We need to up our value, up who we are as agents. And like you said, you changed your listing presentation so that you can provide more value. You guys took your whole team out of state to take them through ninja selling to make sure that they're now, top of their game. So it's not saying which one, tech agent, personal relationship agent. It's the two, and elaborate on what you guys think about the tech piece and the relationship piece.
Okay. So the tech piece or the relationship, I don't think, like you said, it's not an either or question, right? Like, how do you implement technology into your business? I'll be the first one to bear bad news here that commission compression is coming, right? Like it's if not, it's here in some sense. So we've got to figure out ways to automate our business and do more deals, essentially, to keep the same revenue you have today. In doing that, you have to implement tech, right? I mean, years ago, it would have been somebody who thought it was asinine for somebody to be able to do 100 deals a year on their own or with one assistant. Now with technology, internet, automation, you're able to do that. To sustain the same revenue you have today, I think you're going to have to implement new technologies in the sense of automated text messaging to follow up all aspects of your business in order for you to focus on what's important, right? So we always talk about what's going to change, what's the next thing that's going to change. And what I always challenge my team for is let's focus on what's not changing, right? What's going to stay consistent in this business for years to come? And that's developing relationships, guiding people through the process, right? All that other stuff that you can take off of your plate, do it, and do it quick. So that's it. Yep.
So similar to that, I agree. We are going through a commission compression, and we will continue to see that not go in our favor. And to that point, I want to make a similar analogy to teams, because some people look at being leveraged and they say, well, why would I go to a team and give half of my commission away or fill in, whatever the commission splits are? And they don't understand being leveraged, and technology does that for us. So just like somebody would be leveraged inside of a team, it's more, we have to shift our focus, not about the conversation I even hear that we had out here this afternoon. How many units did we do? What was the volume? How much money did you make? And the piece that we never ask is how many hours are you working? And that's a really important question to ask, to know what your hourly wage is. And so when we get into this conversation, there'll be a lot of angst and there'll be some nervous people. And I don't want people to walk out of here today and be afraid of, oh my gosh, did you hear them? They talked about how the commissions are going to go down, and they're already going down, and we're going to have to work a lot harder. So if you're not listening to the conversation the right way, you might leave with that. And my hope is that you actually leave feeling, based on what George said, and I agree, and I think you'll hear this continue throughout the industry, it's about how much do we make per hour. And so if we're leveraging technology that we can be that much more efficient, we have AI, we have blast texting, all of the tools that we already have, and some things that are going to continue to develop and advance for us, we can actually be focused on what is most important to the client, digging deep in that relationship, and helping that many more people that we can't even fathom. I think today, to George's point, years ago we can't even imagine helping 100 people, and now that's completely possible. And I think in the few years to come, we'll help even more. But our hourly wage, the goal on our team, and I'm sure on his and on other people that are running teams, is to leverage that technology so your hourly wage doesn't change. We do a lot more deals in the same amount of time and still earn the beautiful income that we can create in this industry.
She's done a few of these panels, you can tell. That's very, very good. It's excellent. So obviously, yeah, as George said, it's not an either-or thing. You have to have both. However, I guess to answer the question, we are more of a relationship type structure. We've never been a cold calling, door knocking, farming. We don't send out mailers and flyers and that kind of stuff. It's all based on different niches that we've learned to serve. And part of the adaptation thing that I guess we're going to be continuing to discuss is learning what niches are being created out there. And even though, yes, we may be going through commission compression, have you guys all been reading about how many people are moving to the Valley? Do you know how many corporations are moving here? Do you know what kind of opportunities there is for housing here? So you have to look big picture. Yeah, we may end up losing a little bit with commission, but look at the opportunity we have for volume. But we have to position ourselves through relationships to be able to serve certain industries, certain types of individuals. We've got to be problem solvers. We've got to be able to be something that the people are looking for. And almost anywhere you go, you see technology moving in, but you still have to have people servicing people. Just to give an example, we have over 120,000 seniors in the Valley that are over the age of 80 years old. I don't know how many of you have heard that before or have heard that there's a silver tsunami coming. These people are not heavily into technology. I can tell you that right now. This is all about relationships. There are many, many folks like that are coming here from other parts of the world that, yes, they're in the technology, but you'd be amazed at how many people walk into our office in Old Town Scottsdale and say, can you help me find a temporary rental property that's furnished? And we say, why don't you use VRBO? And they say, because we want to work with a person. We want to see who we're talking to. So there's still a very high percentage of people out there that are looking for the relationship and not just the technology. But if you don't have the technology, you're not going to be able to leverage your time, as Carin said.
I really think that the technology helps build the better personal relationship. And, you know, as an example, going back to the client relations manager on my team, being able to use the CRM, which obviously is a technology piece, to set that 1-year anniversary call, to take notes when we talk to new leads on, you know, what's going on in their life at that point. A lot of them will say, you know, call me in 6 months or 12 months. I'm in Nebraska and I'm waiting for my granddaughter to graduate from college and then we're moving. And so being able to have that follow-up call by having the piece of technology and, you know, make the comment based off the notes, oh, you know, how was the graduation, or, you know, whatever happened in that conversation builds a better personal relationship, and that doesn't happen without the technology. And another example, I'm sure most of us use DocuSign, and, you know, for most of my clients, DocuSign is a preferred method. They would rather quickly knock it out with that than have to print things and fax or scan it back or really even have us go to their house. Most people that I work with are busy and, you know, they have their lives going on and would rather use DocuSign than really have me drive to their house and, you know, have them wet sign things. And so I'm a big believer in it. I think most of us have been resistant to technology because it is, you know, can be a little bit uncomfortable and people typically don't like change. But look at Facebook as an example too. I believe the fastest growing, you know, demographic or population on Facebook is, you know, 55 years and older. And, you know, these are people that are able to see what their grandchildren or kids are doing in other states. And so, again, I don't think you really have completely one without the other. So,
great answer. It was what I was looking for. Gosh, man, I really talk loud. So what is a CRM? No, I'm just kidding. So I was looking for that. I was looking because it's technology enables us to continue that personal touch, because it's going to kind of lead to my next couple of questions. Before I get to the different brokerages that are out there that we all, you know, hear every day, before I get there, with the on-demand models, if you guys are all, you know, familiar with what the on-demand model is in real estate, how do you think the consumers are reacting to the on-demand models, and what do you think are some benefits and detriments for us. So how can we, as a brokerage or a team, overcome that and provide more value to the consumer to hopefully make them not try to lean more towards the on-demand type model? I'm going to start with you.
Yes. So you asked like 8 questions. What was the question again?
On-demand models.
Yes.
The attraction to buyers
and
how it's detrimental.
I got it. So the on-demand models, I think it's obvious. I mean, if hindsight's always 20/20, our society is very much instant gratification. So to see what we're experiencing right now, it's really no surprise. People don't want the inconvenience of having showings. They don't want to clean their house. They like to have the certainty and the peace of mind that their home is going to actually sell. So that's what that's catering to, that on-demand. I want it right now, and I need to know exactly how much I'm going to get. Is that everybody? No, that's not everyone. Will that continue to shift? We don't have a crystal ball. Now, how can we disrupt that? I think we can disrupt it in a few ways, but I think partially what I've learned in my 15 years in the business is the people that get Netflixed or become extinct are the ones that put their head down and say, no, this isn't happening. We're just not going to play with this. They think of them as enemies, and they don't actually look to see what's happening, which this is real. It is happening, and especially in the new build community where people can go to a new build and decide, okay, I can actually get my home sold. This is a guarantee. Great, I'm going to take that certainty, because people don't like the uncertainty that we offer them, but that's not for everyone. So as far as what we can do, there's some disruptive things that we can do. Maybe you're offering a flexible commission plan where you actually pay somebody that's on your staff, or you have somebody on staff that goes and quickly tidies up the house, makes the showings as convenient as possible. These are some of the things that we throw around. But at the most, I think that this is something that's here right now, and instead of saying, hey, how can we not deal with this, it's figuring out how can I actually work with this and adapt and do both. It doesn't have to be an either or. Why can't we still offer this to them? And again, back to what I said earlier, then you go in and you offer solutions to what Craig said. That's what people want. If we need to offer more value than ever, our place as real estate agents is to make sure how can we provide value. It goes back to problem solving. So if we go in there and we assume we already know what the problem is, well, we're delivering a message that really is not what they're looking for. So if we go in and we really understand what they want and we give them hey, here's everything laid out for you, we're going to be fine when all of this continues to either evolve and we've evolved and adapted with it, or maybe there's a market shift and the iBuyer changes. That part I don't have a crystal ball for. We can only speculate.
I'll go. What was the question again? The iBuyer model. I think on-demand model. I don't think it's so. It's going to be a segment of the market, right? It's not for every seller out there. There's those people that value certainty and simplicity, right? Some people will value a higher net. It just kind of depends. Having that solution for them to simplify the process for your sellers, right? The process is cumbersome. There's no way around it, right? Showing your house, it sucks, right? It chews up equity selling your house. There's a lot of things to the process that they don't like. So how do you simplify that for them? Thinking the process, right? So Carin with a great solution of having somebody go over and tidy up the place, right? So creating those solutions that save people time, money, and stress, I think is the key to challenging it. So being able to duplicate the model to some degree, right? Being able to offer a guarantee buyout, just like we do for like builder programs or something along those lines. If you can do that, then I think that's a great solution to it. So.
So I'm just going to go back to something Mark said at the very, very beginning. So I'm still available even after this, because there may be questions and all that kind of stuff, and anybody can call me anytime and I'll spill my guts. I'm kind of an open book. So some of the stuff I bring up, there may be more questions about, which is fine. But what I was going to answer is you can still have on-demand services, but make them fit for the relationships that you've created. And I'll give some examples. And it used to be that we were taught, maybe even 5 years ago, that in order to be successful in real estate, you have to be able to do one thing, you have to do it really, really good, and you got to do it better than anybody. And that's almost ancient history now. I think now we have to figure out ways to do more things better and faster and be able to adapt quicker to what our clients are asking us for. So when it comes to on-demand, just as an example of how on-demand can work with relationships, we serve a lot of very niche markets, such as working with attorneys, divorce attorneys. We're special real estate commissioners to the Superior Court, so we get appointed to sell properties. We get appointed sometimes to sell properties through probate. We've developed relationships with fiduciaries, not the type of financial fiduciary, but a fiduciary that would be appointed by the court to liquidate an estate in the event that there's a death and there's not an immediate beneficiary named, which happens quite often. We read about that all the time. We also get appointed occasionally through like elder law attorneys that will have a senior that changes their living situation and either goes into assisted living, moves back in with family, or heaven forbid they've passed away, but that happens every day here in Phoenix. When those things happen, we need to be able to offer some on-demand services to family members, because sometimes family members don't want to monkey around with the estate. They don't want to have to deal with cleaning everything up. And I think it's important that we offer them a list of options, and we actually have a downsizing, right-sizing program similar to a trade-in program, but we're not actually trading anything. What we're doing is we're giving them, do you want A, do you want B, do you want C? If you want C, that's where somebody will come in and make a cash offer on a property, and you don't have to do anything to it. You don't have to clean it up or anything. And this may be something that's needed for somebody that lives in Indiana who has their own family, kids, career, and all that, and they can afford to come out here for maybe a weekend to be able to pick up some of mom or dad's memorabilia, heirloom type things, but they can't be out here for a month and a half preparing a property for sale. Something like that might work for them. But then there's also cases where somebody wants absolutely top dollar. Can you bring in a stager? Can you bring in somebody that can tell me what else I could do? Should I do some type of remodeling in here? I think it's important that we have options for that for people so that we don't end up being stuck just doing one thing really, really well. We've got multiple things that we can offer our clients based on what their needs are, not based on what we think our expertise is.
Well, one thing I learned coming into this industry in 2009 and seeing where a lot of the REO agents, at the time are at today, and a lot of them have just kind of disappeared, and the ones I worked with were really, really cocky, but they're gone. And so this is another example of there being a lifespan, I think. And so a model like that works great in a low inventory inclining market like we're in, but I think we also tend to get too fixated on the market we're in and not really looking forward enough, at our future. And so when I came in and wasn't able to get REO accounts and all the attorneys were doing the short sales, I went after buyers and through digital marketing, and 90% of those buyers now are in an equity position and have become sellers. And so if you also continue to lead gen and cultivate and nurture buyers, you can compete with the open door and offer pads in low inventory markets like this, because it's very likely that I already have a buyer in my database that will pay more than the iBuyer. And so, this is an effort and relationship-based business, but it all comes down to building and managing your database. And so my database has over 40,000 people in it, and they get touched on every month at the very least. And so when I compete with one of those models, and I'm not gonna maybe beat them, in other aspects, that before I lose it completely, I'm looking in my database for a buyer for that property that's willing to pay more and buy it as is, and 9 times out of 10 we have one.
So in listening to everyone talk, I just realized I forgot to say something really important. Does every agent in here realize that you can actually receive an offer from Open Door or OfferPad on the behalf of your seller? So some yes, some no. So I think part of it is we bring this up at the kitchen table with our clients, And a lot of times they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, I didn't know. And they had already looked it up, or they were already considering it, and they didn't talk about it with us. So I think when we're open about that, we actually can have a really honest conversation. So we put all the cards on the table, and maybe it doesn't make sense for them to do it. Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't. And if we're not in scarcity, that we're afraid to talk about it because we're giving them some idea they don't know about, most of the time they've already heard the radio ad and they might have already gone on the website. So I think it's number one, understanding as agents that we have the ability to do that, because it's not going to work for everyone. It doesn't make sense for everyone, but when we can have an honest conversation, we can actually consult them and educate them, and that really is the shift I think we need to make if we're having this conversation about being adaptable. It's not going in there with an ego and I'm the expert and I'm going to tell you like it is. I need to be humble, and I need to really understand what it is that you want. And if it means I get a less commission and you have to go this direction, that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's a lifetime client, not just a right now client.
I wanted one thing too I didn't add to that. The other question is, even if you don't take the listing, where are they going? Are they staying in town? Are they moving out of state? Can I refer them out on an outbound, or can I represent them as their buyer's agent too? Because the iBuyer is not going to represent them as a buyer, and so there's still an opportunity there to potentially take something out of the appointment or the meeting, and again, just putting them in your database. Once you have their information, name, phone number, email, mailing address, they should go into your CRM. And it doesn't matter if it's an internet lead or social media or an open house. If anybody you meet expresses interest in buying or selling, you put them in your database and you nurture them for life. And if you do that, you'll be successful forever. So,
and those are all great answers. It's funny because before you took the mic back, I was going to make the comment. What you said is one of the first persons that actually told me that was George on the podcast. Is when they go into a listing presentation, as opposed to bashing Open Door or bashing OfferPad, and basically really shooting yourself in the foot, because regardless of what you say, they're looking at them. Is he came in with an offer? He came in with, here's this, here's that. I get it. But here's what I can do. So they had options to choose from. So when they left, if they chose OfferPad, like Carin said, maybe getting less, but you've gained the trust and the lifetime client. And what Kevin's saying, the value, everything that I took from this is just value. We're walking in now, whether it be a buyer consultation or a listing presentation, and we're offering the value that we should have been offering years ago, or the agent should have been offering for years. And we've been forced to now, so we better do it. So, awesome answers, guys. Great. Okay. Oh, fine.
I was thinking, so I read a study here recently that said that 10% of the people are always going to look for the lowest price, and 10% of the people actually want to pay the highest price because they think they're going to get the most out of paying the highest price, or they want to brag to their neighbors they paid the highest price. But the 80% in the middle are looking for the best value. And you can provide value in a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to come in the form of a compressed commission or anything else that you're giving up. It can actually be something else that you're including, other things that you can offer. A lot of people are looking for almost like a full concierge service. You all have access to all that kind of information, all those different vendors that can do that kind of thing. And if you can put them in touch with people that can help them with some of their needs, again, if you identify their problems so you can be a solver for them, then you're going to bring more value and you'll be able to pick up that 80%. Yeah, the 10% that's always looking for the cheapest price, probably not going to get those anyways.
Another very good point. Very good point. So onward to the next question I was saying before about the brokerages that have come in. I know that when we came in as a brokerage, my home group, we weren't the first transaction fee-based brokerage to come in. We just came in a little differently. We came in offering training, education, support that you perceived you had to pay for before, and really you got it for what we're doing. And we've now shown that and proven that model, but that's not revolutionary. In that space it is, but the transaction fee-based model isn't. And we'll go on to that next, but the newer brokerages that have come into town, that are coming into town, the Purple Bricks, the cloud-based brokerages, which I'm not here to trash anybody. Truthfully, this is a conversation. This question came into us, so I'm asking it based on somebody who submitted the question. So, we have some interesting shifts and new brokerages coming into the industry. So what is your take on these new models? The iBuyers, the cloud-based EXPs, and the purple bricks. What is your take on them and their survival? Starting with you.
Well, is this on? Okay. I think. I got it. Okay. I'm not. I can't really say that they won't work, because when we look around at other industries, such as how TurboTax has affected accountants, LegalZoom with attorneys. You know, you can get an LLC, I think, on LegalZoom for what, $250, or you can go down to the attorney and go through the big swinging glass doors and sit down at the conference table and pay $1,200 or $1,500 or whatever it is. So when we look at Yellow Cab versus Uber, Blockbuster Video, Amazon versus retailers, travel agents, and again, every other industry around us, we should expect technology to disrupt and change our industry completely. And I'm really surprised that it's taken this long when all we have to do is really just simply look around at everything else. So.
And I totally agree with that. I think that we're going to see more and more of this happening, but it always goes back to relationship trumps all else. So if you're serving people that are wanting to work with you because of the relationship that you've developed, there may be a percentage of those that are still going to go with a technology group or something that's kind of high tech. But most of the people that we've learned to serve, at least my team serves, these niche groups, they need hand-holding. We don't do a lot of your traditional real estate. Most stuff is ugly, messy. Well, what does a traditional deal look like anymore? Heck, there are no traditional deals anymore. Everything's ugly, messy, nasty, and complicated, right? Well, there's so many people that need hand-holding through all of that, and it's all a trust thing. People trust us to be able to hold their hand, give them good advice, and we become advisors. We're not salespeople, we're advisors. If they're looking for someone just for sales, I think the technology is going to be the way that they would go. If they're looking for an advisor, it's always going to come down to the relationship.
I was going to say, one thing that Stevie D always says is technology won't replace the real estate agent, but the real estate agent that uses technology will. So this goes back to being skilled and utilizing technology and being educated in your profession and having that personal touch. So I think it just goes right back around to what we started with as being good at both, really, right?
So I think it ultimately will come down to who's providing the most resources. So if we just talked about you have to be enabled with good technology and resources, well, traditionally we've looked at the brokerages to provide that. And gosh, probably even before I've been in, 15 years, the older traditional models were more of a 50-50. And I'd like to think that Arizona actually started more of the discount brokerage model where it's 100% with the transaction fees. And so I think as we've seen that become more popular, especially in Arizona and then across other parts of the country, I've also seen the explosion of teams, because the agent at the end of the day still needs help with resources and technology and building a business so that they can focus on the relationships, providing the value. It just amazes me. We're just one of the fun industries that there's 200 tasks in a transaction and we try to do all of these different things. So I think to answer the question, it would be egotistical and uneducated for me to sit up here and say, well, any one of these models aren't going to work, because I know them at a high level. I don't understand all the tools and resources that they offer their agents. So I think at the end of the day, it's the one that provides the right tools and resources, if not to the individual agents, for the teams, that would make sense for the teams to provide the tools and resources to the agents that way.
I think so. This industry has so many shiny objects, right? There's always this next brand, this trendy new brand or whatever it is. And, as this new brands come out, maybe they're randomly swapping independent real estate agents back and forth, and that's the goal, right? But for us, what I try to focus on, what we try to focus on, is relentless pursuit of the consumer, right? So at the core of this business, we are selling houses, right? Don't forget that. Don't go out and recruit. Don't go do the next shiny object thing. Like, we have to stay focused in selling houses and prospecting and creating a great transaction, a great experience for our clients. So.
And a couple of those people aren't new.
Yes, they're not, but they're newer to us as far as what we know. I'm just going to leave on high, and I'm going to talk because I'm better at that. How about that? So, but those are good answers, and the reason I ask the answers is because there's not one brokerage that's right for everybody. There's so many brokerages out there, and I think that we choose the brokerage that we feel comfortable with and that provides us the value. The whole point of the exercise is to hear what everyone's take is, because the buzz on the street is all these companies that are coming. The ones that are going to make it are the ones that are truthfully going to be looking at their agents as partners and helping them grow their business. So that's what you have to look at when choosing any brokerage. And a lot of them out there here currently, the ones I even mentioned, are doing that as well. So it's not that it's a bash session. It's just we have to do what we're comfortable with as agents, and who's going to give us the most value for what we're doing. So the next question I have is, we already discussed the downward pressure on commissions. I think we all know that it's coming. Is the thought on a transaction fee-based brokerage? Obviously, my opinion is a little more biased, being that we have one. But in the next 5 years, do you think the transaction fee-based model brokerage will surpass the traditional big box franchise brand? And I'm going to start with you, George.
Why didn't you start with me?
I'm going to start with Carin. No, you want to start? Kevin, you want to start? So will the flat fee listing surpass? Okay.
The traditional, the HomeSmart, My Home Group, Realty One, those transaction fee-based brokerages, are they going to surpass the big box franchise brand models in the next 5 years?
Yes.
No. My home group, KW. I'm like, why are you asking me this question?
No, it's in general. I mean, it's not to anybody that's fine. It's a question that's coming up a lot.
So I would say if there's not a cap on how much is being charged, because I'm not going to speak to my home group. I actually started at a discount brokerage, and I started doing so many transactions, they didn't have a cap. I would have paid them and started to pay them more money than I would have ever paid to be somewhere that had a cap. So I think unless there's a cap that's put on there, absolutely, because if we're having a commission compression, that ends up somewhere, and it will end up at the brokerage level.
So just a question by show of hands. How many of you came out of the corporate world to go into real estate? Oh, it's kind of wimpy hand holding up, but it looks like a decent percentage of you came out of the corporate world to go into real estate. Well, I also did. I was in the corporate world for 27 years, and most of you can relate to this. You get kind of fed up with being in the corporate world and being that hamster on a wheel all the time. And I've worked for several different brokerages, and I can say that in some of them that were the larger big box brokerages are starting, at least in my opinion, to look more and more like corporations. And was starting to feel more and more like I was part of a corporation with a lot of red tape and a lot of people from places far, far away making decisions that are going to affect me that I don't have any access to. And one of the reasons why I made the move to brokerage such as My Home Group, transaction fee, and they let me run my office as though it's my own brokerage with very few restrictions. All I have to do is put the broker's name on the front door and put the logo up there, and I get to operate it as though it's my own. The big boxes just can't do that. And a lot of them that have either gone extinct or started going extinct have basically policied themselves into the ground because they've tried to position themselves to protect themselves in so many ways that it ends up giving the agents and the people like us running teams no flexibility to run our team the way that we want to. So I think we're going to see more of the per transaction, more of the non-franchise brokerages, boutique brokerages, if you will, start to exceed the number of the big boxes.
My model's a little bit different because I have a small brokerage and I run my team obviously out of it. And so my agents have always been on a 60-40 split, and they get 60, I take 40. It doesn't matter if it was a office lead or if it's from their sphere. But it's 60-40 across the board. Everybody's in a round robin rotation, so it's 100% equal opportunity. It doesn't matter if it's a buyer or seller or what price range, because I trust them as adults and professionals. And so, like I mentioned before, the top producer on my team did 52 transactions last year. The lowest producer probably did about 20. But so it's hard for me to answer this because I haven't really ever had an agent leave my team yet. And so some of them have been with me, 5-6 years now, since I started assembling a team, because their philosophy is if they have to go, hire a transaction coordinator and pay that salary, pay for an office, they have 3 admins working for them and 1 to 2 new leads coming in a day and all kinds of, other tools. And so when I look at it too as an owner, my net obviously isn't 40%, And so the conversation I've had with them in the past, and I always encourage them, to be the best version of themselves. And if they feel comfortable going and being 100% agent, we have that model too, and I'd prefer they stay with the company. But when it really comes down to it, for these agents on my team to deal with, because you're never really 100% agent if you're doing a lot of business, and I have been one with Remax and Keller Williams, and it was never 100% for me because I had to spend money, to market online and to, generate leads. And so I started out with a $1,200 a month budget, and now my marketing budget's about $40K. And so it's never really 100%. And then the old saying, 100% of zero is zero, because it's like you can go be 100% agent. How are you going to get your business? And so I mean it worked well for me being 100%er, but I still had to spend the money to generate the business. So I'm kind of torn on that personally. I really think it depends on the market you're in and the environment you're in and what kind of opportunity you have. In Vegas, I'm biased, but I feel like if you're not on my team, you might as well be 100%er, because if you're at some of these franchises and you're on like a 70-30 and you have a cap and they're not providing anything to you, then yeah, you might as well go down the street, So it depends on what kind of model you're in. And you really just always have to do the math and figure out if it's worth it or not. So,
I mean, they're all good answers. That's why I ask, is because, not one is going to fit. But out of curiosity, as far as how the industry is going and what agents and teams are looking for. And there are a lot of flexible things to that nature for transaction fee-based brokerages. And it's not that Remax and Keller Williams are going to be wiped off the planet Earth, but the question is if the transaction fee surpass an agent count. So all good answers. I liked George's short answer. That was good. Because it was funny. It was yes, and he moved right on. I'm just kidding. Okay. So switching gears just a little bit. Being an entrepreneur, being a team leader, being the high level that you guys are, people now, we're talking teams. Everyone wants to start a team. The team sounds so attractive. I can bring on 4 agents and I can make 30% from them. Oh my gosh, that's great. I don't have to work, or whatever it may be, or that may not be the thought process, but we all know that's not the case. So as you're running a team and starting a team, what is the one task that you have to do as a team leader to remove or delegate in order to get to the next level? What's the one thing, and it could be different for everybody, that you had to remove in order to continue to be productive or drive revenue? One. You're getting it first.
I want to pick and choose. Well, the one thing for me was being able to work on my business and not in my business. And that was a real challenge for me, because I started, as most people do, I started as a solo agent, and it got to the point where I needed help with what I was doing, and I was generating more business than what I could do myself, so it became comfortable to bring other people in and so on and so on. But yet the face of the business had always kind of been me. And even though I don't have a me team, it's a S4 group rather than the Kevin Craig team, I wanted to be able to figure out a way eventually to where I was no longer in production, but I could actually help my agents get what they want. And if they're able to get what they want, then ultimately I'll be able to get what I want. But that is a really, really hard transition to make, getting out of production. Well, in the last year, both Jenny McCall, my business partner, and I are both out of production and able to help the agents. And what we learned is that, and what we saw and what we knew that we had to accomplish was, if you're going to run a team and it's going to be like a family, every family needs a mom and a dad. And it's hard to have a mom and a dad at home if mom and dad are all off doing their own thing and working. So Jenny decided that she needed to be kind of a stay-home mom with the agents and be able to coach them on the things that they needed to be able to grow their business and their lives. So she is a certified life coach and basically coaches them on many different aspects. What they want to accomplish personally, what they want to accomplish physically, what they want to accomplish spiritually, financially, business-wise. But then my role has to be going out and getting the business. I've got to be kind of the breadwinner. I've got to be the hunter, gatherer, the one that's going out and finding opportunities and bringing it back. Once we figured out that if we trusted our team and trusted our agents to actually handle all the business, it was so much easier for us to start working on the business instead of working in the business. So that would be the one thing I guess we did this year that was kind of monumental for us, is getting out of production so that we could help agents be more productive.
So the question is, again, right?
You want the question again? Yeah. I want the one thing to remove or delegate in order to get to the next level.
Your ego. Like, that's it. Because really, my team knows that I will never ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself, and a lot of times I'll do something just to prove a point. You know, you guys think you're too good for the $100,000 condo buyer? Give it to me, and I'll just go bust my ass and hate it for 3 months trying to put them in escrow, but I'll do it to prove a point. And I was a restaurant owner before this, really a failed restaurant owner, but same thing there. I would grab a broom and sweep the floor when the floor needed to be swept, because I think you have to lead by example. And I've seen so many people since I've been in this industry, basically go online, get a logo, call themselves the blah blah group or team or whatever. Most of the time they don't even hire a transaction coordinator first. That's the biggest mistake too. So talking about the other side of it, delegating. You don't have a team until you have an assistant, because once you hire and train a good assistant/transaction coordinator, then you have somebody to help you train the new agents coming in, and you actually have a system and a foundation in place. Otherwise, it's a joke. And it's usually based on ego, and so a lot of people in our industry really don't want to even work 40 hours a week. They just want, the vanity, I guess, of it. So lose the ego first and lead by example, and you'll do fine. But definitely assistant first. So once you're too busy to handle your volume and you feel like you're losing business, you bring on your assistant. And my first assistant that I had so I did 106 transactions in 2011, my third year, and 104 were buyers. And I had a younger assistant, mostly bonus based, not a lot of salary, mostly bonus. But I literally would have her go put gas in my car, do CMAs, write up purchase agreements and listing agreements, go get, closing gifts, whatever pressure I could take off of myself. And so there's, I needed somebody. You need somebody that's a team player. The same thing, they'll get in the trenches with you, and it might not always just be, a job description in black and white. It's whatever the hell needs to be done that day. And then once you do that, you start bringing on agents one at a time, usually too, not three at a time, or whatever. Or hire your friends, or it's just a lot of mistakes are made, I think, in this team building side of it. So
I love the lose the ego thing.
It's me now. Okay. So what I would say is, number one, think with the end in mind. We talk to a lot of agents, and they say, oh, yeah, I want to start a team. And I always ask, well, why do you want to do that? Well, because I want to be able to go on vacation and, not have to work a lot of hours and just have passive income. And I think if you talk to anybody that runs a team, we kind of joke about real estate too, right? You leave a 40-hour job to come and work 80 hours. Yes. So when you run a team, it's the same thing. If you're working 30, it's so that you can run a team and work 80. But to answer the question, what I would say is whatever you dislike the most is probably also what you suck at. So whatever you're not good at, that's what you should get rid of first. And to the ego comment, one of my mentors made a comment to me and said, well, Carin, when you're doing this operational task, you're just the highest paid, fill in the blank, transaction coordinator, assistant, what have you. And so that became my mission to say, okay, well, great. Yeah, I am the one that keeps taking that job back. So I need to actually let go of that job altogether. And the biggest thing, you have more type A personalities in real estate than anywhere else because we're all business owners and entrepreneurs. And so the only way that you'll ever get rid of any task is to find somebody who can do it better than you can. And back to Anthony's point, if your ego is in the way and you always have to be the best and the smartest in the room, you're never going to get rid of that job, and you're going to be very limited in your growth because you want to be the smartest and best person in the room. But it's going to take people to grow. If you're not growing, you're missing a relationship.
Yeah, Carin took all the good answers. No, I realized early on. Yes. I learned early on that there was a lot of things I'm not good at, right, in real estate. There's so many hats that you have to wear. I'm probably, most of the agents on my team are better agents than I am, right? So it's knowing what you're not good at and getting it off of your plate quickly. And as Carin said, once you do, you got to find that person that does it better than you, or is good at it or better than you will. And then replacing yourself in it, you're growing your business that way, right? So whatever it was, I was quick to get off my plate, add people to it. And I'd say the one thing I've done this year, I don't know if it's really game changer, but man, it's a lot nicer of a life, is meal prep, having somebody prep meals for us, right? Like, I know that sounds silly, but how much time it saves is crazy. And if they can do laundry for you while they're there, that'd be freaking awesome too, right? So, So take that back home. Yeah. No, she's all mine.
So I can't believe it's almost 5. So for the sake of time, we're going to stop. But I want to leave time out because if we ask another question, which we have more to ask, but I'd rather leave it to you guys to ask the questions that you want. And like I said from the beginning, there's no wrong question. I want you to ask these guys and lovely young lady the questions that you may have from all the conversation. It could be basic, that you're a brand new agent. You could be one starting a team right now, which I think that is really the questions for any of these up here because they're running a very strong teams. So who is first with a question? Carl! And then I've got you marked next, don't worry. That's who are you asking? I think you should pick one. Carin.
That's a good question. So what I would say is, number one, having the awareness of where you actually are. So knowing your numbers, that's kind of an obvious answer, but many agents don't know your numbers. So outside of knowing your numbers, where did your business actually come from? And really assessing if there's anything that's allowed me to adapt quickly, it's understanding where my business has come from. And if there's anything that's sabotaged me along the way, it's me trying to be somebody I'm not. And what I mean by that is, if I know I'm more prospecting based, then I'm going to do something going forward that's more prospecting based. If I know I want to be in front of people and I don't like the phones and I don't want to be prospecting based, and I'm more about, my niche and my relationships, how can I use that to adapt into the next change that we're going into? So the second part of your question, though, was, as an individual agent, how do you transition to deal with, can you re-ask that second part for me? So I think you also have to understand, where is it that you want to be? And a lot of times we're just in it as an individual agent. I mean, most of us don't get in and just start a team the day one that we're in it. We start as individual agents. And when you're in it with so many tasks that we have to do as an individual agent, it's hard, or we don't prioritize time to look farther enough ahead. And so I may be disliked and unpopular after I say this, but I really do believe, I've been very conservative because my personality style is, hey, if it's to be, you can do whatever you put your mind to. However, the statistics are showing us that we are going through an evolution that I think that the teams are going to actually replace the individual producer, just because of the demands of the consumer. We talked about going through a commission compression. And so if we are required to provide all of these services and fulfill the expectations of the consumer, how can one individual agent do that at a high level and also stay up to par on, hey, what's going on in the market? I have to adapt. I have to be high on my skill set and all of these different things. And if you look at Real Trends, who tracks these numbers, they actually have, if you look at it, it's the production of teams is up 42% over the last 5 years, and the production of an individual agent is down 17%. So if you look at that, that's a big swing in favor of teams. And I know I'm going to sound biased up here saying that, but what I would say with that is, now that you have bigger teams where you have team producers, founders, whatever you want to call them, they're not producers. We're not in production. It actually creates opportunity for individuals to be on a team and have something that can feel like their own and build, where they don't have to be that solo person like, oh, I'm just here to make George wealthy or make Carin money or build their name. It's not about that. So I think you just really have to identify, why are you doing this? Do you want to help other people? Is it about you need to have your name on the sign or on the door? If that's the case, then you should be building a high-producing team, because this is evolving. It's already happening right now. So you're either the one that's building it, or you're the one that's getting on board with the one that makes the most sense for you and aligns with your vision.
Great answer. You, sir. Yes. Hi, Milo. Social media, yeah, the importance.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of social media, I think, is to drive them away from there too, to your site, or at least still is for us, and ad spend to, I mean, you have branding, brand awareness ads as well too, but I think today a website is still very crucial, right? An IDX site, when we say that, not necessarily a branding site, but someplace you can go out and capture information. If you don't have good contact information for people, then who are you going to prospect, right? So I think it is an important piece.
I don't think either one of them matter unless you have a good system that they're going to come into, your back-end funnel. So if you have a website and it just sits in your email, that's probably not the best option. Same thing if you have a bunch of social media leads that come in and you don't have a way to actually put them through the filter. You can get inundated with a lot of leads, and you're going to have to be able to have a great follow-up system. And if you don't have that in place, you're just wasting your money on leads.
So there's an author and a public speaker, everybody's maybe heard of Simon Sinek, and he wrote the book Start With Why. And so I would say everybody in here needs to figure out what their why is, and another way of putting that is say, what is everybody's superpower? Everybody in here has an individual superpower. There's a reason why you are doing real estate. There's a reason why there's a certain group that you want to serve, or there's some type of skill, database, connection, something that you have that sets you apart from everybody else. You have to figure out what that is first, and then that's the type of thing that you would promote on social media. Not, my name's Kevin, buy a house from me, I'm holding an open house on Saturday, please stop on by. That doesn't give anybody a why. There's no why in there. But if you go on there and you say, hey, I want to work with this one relocation group, and I know that people are coming in, and I specialize in relocation, and if you contact me, then I've got a whole variety of services that I can be able to offer to you. Whatever your why is, and you put that out there, then you're going to get a better chance of attracting the type of people that you want to work with. And I think like what George said, your social media should drive them to your website to find your contact information and more. But the people that are spending their time wasting their time on social media saying that I sell houses, please call me, I'm having an open house, please come by, you're wasting your time. People, like Simon Sinek said, they don't connect to what you do or how you do it, they connect to why you do it.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. And just going back real quick, one thing that I wasn't aware of, but you mentioned team production being higher than individual production. I would imagine that a lot of that is because most teams, the good ones, use a CRM. So the agents are managing their database. And so it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it consistently. And so I generate 600 to 800 leads a month through Google PPC and social media. And so I had felt like at a certain point I got really good at Google and social media was coming up. And so staying consistent, I created posts where they're, and consistent, meaning every single day there's a post on my business page on Facebook and Instagram. So Monday is Mortgage Monday. So I got with the mortgage lender and said, send me updates, VA limit changes, that's a Mortgage Monday update. There's grant money, that's a Mortgage Monday. And blending your social media. And so like George said, so we have our new listings are Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday is a home searcher post where we run an ad for search for homes. They click on the Facebook ad and it takes them to our website to search for homes where they register and they drop into the CRM. But the best thing that I did, and I encourage anybody here to completely copy me, and I do a lot of these panels around the nation, and there's agents that have duplicated this. One here in the Phoenix area, Jason and Tanya Dawson are their names. So your why. So I had, real long story short, I had adopted or rescued a little dog that was very, very badly abused, literally burned, poked, tortured, and thrown in a dumpster to die. And I became really close to him, and he was my little dog. And so I thought, what can I do is my why. I don't have kids or, a family, and I don't really want to go down and feed the homeless once a year and be like, oh, look at me, I'm a great person, And so I started a post called Foster Friday. And our tagline is, at Platinum Real Estate Professionals, we not only help people find homes, we help pets find homes. And so all I had to do is go to a couple shelters, say, send me a photo and a description once a week of the dog or cat, mostly dogs, that, has been in there a while and needs to be adopted, and we'll post it on Friday for Foster Friday, and we'll promote that post for $20. And that became my biggest day on social media now for 3 years. And, I've been on covers of magazines with dogs on me and all this exposure. We get 700-800 likes, 250, 300 shares, 40, 50 comments on that post, because we're not cramming real estate down their throat either. It's blending the content. 50, 60 new page followers every Friday, just through Foster Friday. And really it started with I wanted, I got attached to my dog and his story, and I wanted to help, other animals and bring awareness to it. But who's going to scroll past a dog on Facebook, right? So people stop and they go, wow, this is a great brokerage. And when they share it, that's how we pick up new page followers, because you want somebody to share your post. So 250, 300 shares is a lot. So I post a listing, we get maybe, even if we promote it, maybe 50, 60 likes. Foster Friday, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 likes, 250, 300 shares, 40, 50 comments, people saying I'm buying my next house with you guys, or I'm selling with you guys. And so anybody that wants to do that, go to my page and check it out. And again, there's probably, 10 or 12 agents or brokers now throughout the country that have literally just duplicated it, and I gave them permission to do it because they're not in my market. It's it's helping animals in other markets. So use the technology with your why, and be consistent. Though I didn't just do it one Friday; it's been every single Friday for 3 years now. So
that's a perfect example of ninja self.
cool. All right.
See, so to summarize what everybody said, because everyone had the same, is obviously the why, the purpose of the post. You're driving from Facebook to your traffic to the website, and then follow up. Can't just bring people there and not follow up. So those are all great answers. Who's got a question? Yes, sir.
For George.
George.
So I believe you list homes for sale, right? So how is that model different? Two-part question. How is that model different than OfferPad and Open Door? And what are the fees Zillow charges the buyer?
So how is your Zillow project different than the OfferPad and the Open Door? And what are the fees?
Well, so the fees are kind of all over the board. They're competitive, right? 6 to 8% on average is what we're seeing. Repair concessions, so they're different in the sense that they won't actually go to written contract until after the inspection. So the repair concessions, they're not anything significant. A lot of them today, we probably had 10 calls. Half of them had no repair concession, right? So, but they could range. We've had them as high as $4,000, $5,000. Just depends on what the house looks like, right? Just like any Binzer you would have, right? Just depends on the condition of the house. What was the other part of the question? Well, we're representing them, so they have agents involved, right? They're also sourcing the leads out to outside agents as well. So there's an agent involved in both sides of the transaction. So, and that's probably the primary difference. It's, there's exclusivity, and that's, the gist of it, I guess. Any other questions? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stop there, and then again, I assume everybody's going to hang just for a little bit. So if you guys want to come up and ask a couple more questions. I want to thank our sponsors that make this happen. I want to thank everybody here for coming. This, again, is one of my favorite events. I love getting to rub shoulders with the best and the brightest, and also to be you in the room. I have people that I haven't met before, agents that are here, folks that from other companies. It's nice that we can all get together because we're all in this together. So humbly, I thank you for coming and look forward to seeing you guys next time. And cheers, congratulations, and round of applause to these wonderful people up here.